It's so easy as homemakers to look around and feel defeated. Maybe you never feel like you can catch up. Like no matter how hard you try, you'll never get on top of things. Maybe it feels like the people and circumstances in your life are completely out of your control and that you'll never be able to move forward until something changes. Well, you're right in one sense. Something does have to change, but it's not the circumstances. It's your reaction to the circumstances. God tells us this clearly through St. Paul in Philippians. But even though I'd heard those beautiful words so many times, I never realized that this epistle includes some very practical commands, simple daily practices that can change our whole outlook on life and therefore our entire lives. Philippians chapter 4 verse 8. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, honorable, right, pure, lovely, admirable, if there is any excellence and if anything worthy of praise, think about these things. Before we can really understand where this command comes from or what to do with it, we have to look at the whole chapter of Philippians 4. There's a tiny line that comes just a few verses earlier, one that's easy to skim right over. Paul writes, "The Lord is near." Those four words hold everything. They remind us to keep looking at him because he's already close. And Jesus is a very polite person. He doesn't interrupt, he doesn't shout, he waits until we leave him room to talk to us. One spiritual author said that during the day, we should be like a small child holding our father's hand on a walk through a garden. Our eyes wander, we take notice of our surroundings, but we must keep hold of his hand and glance up now and then. This should be our relationship with God. However, most of us live on a loop of repetitive thoughts, self doubt, worries, frustrations, worldly distractions. Sometimes we're so stuck in these loops we forget how to look up again or look up at all. That's why St. Paul tells us to renew our minds, to forge new thought loops. It takes practice, and that's the heart of Philippians 4:8. He's not just giving us a beautiful list of words, he's teaching us what to fill that empty space with once we finally look up. But how do we remember to look up at God? I get this question all the time, and it definitely used to be an issue for me. Well, what if you hired someone to text you randomly throughout the day and ask, "What are you thinking about?" Okay, that sounds funny, but that's really what this first step is about, learning to notice what's going on in your mind before it runs away from you. My best practical tip is to place sticky notes where you'll see them throughout the day. They'll jar your mind and draw you back to awareness. Eventually, it will become a habit to pause, but you need some practical help getting out of your negative thought loops first. Interrupting those thoughts to look up at God warms your relationship with Him throughout the day. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's nice, but I'm pretty bad. I've always been a worrier, a control freak, or maybe I need something big like therapy, or the situation in my life is not allowing me the time to build up a prayer life with God. I get it, but that's a response rooted in the flesh and not the spirit. I want to tell you a story about a woman who proved that God can completely transform our minds in a short time when we simply turn toward Him, even in the most terrible circumstances. Her name is Immaculée Ilibagiza, and she survived the Rwandan genocide by hiding in a tiny bathroom with seven other women for 91 days. She entered that bathroom a terrified and rather worldly college student and left it a completely different woman, a woman who could accept the massacre of almost her entire family with peace and even with trust in God's will. How did that happen in a 3-month time span? She spent those months doing only one thing, turning her thoughts toward God and submitting herself to Him again and again. That's the power of a renewed mind. Now, once we start letting God in regularly, we can't help but feel more peaceful. This is actually the first step in my free 7-day reset, which I link below. I'm Andrea, a Catholic wife and mother of 8, and I made this step one because I used to live with anxiety and overwhelm. For years, I focused only on the physical side of fixing myself, health, energy, routines. But through God's grace, I realized true peace begins by transforming our thoughts through Christ. You can't go far in health or in life until you start here. Just look at the 8 Beatitudes. They're our roadmap to sanctity, and every single one of them focuses on an attitude, a way of thinking or responding to life. This was such a shock for the Jews that Christ preached to, because before that, all of their rules were focused on physical things, what they could eat, when they could eat, ritual washings. In other words, Christ wanted to tell us that true holiness begins with a renewed mind. But recognizing our thought patterns can be really difficult. I don't want to get too specific, but we probably all had this experience where someone starts ranting to you how annoyed they are because of something that somebody did to them. And in your head, you're thinking, please, you do this all the time to everybody. We've all been there. And it just shows how unaware we can all be of our own thought patterns. But when we slow down, become aware of our thoughts, and invite Christ in, we begin to see. I've experienced it, and women in the reset tell me the same thing. God gives wisdom to expose the destructive thoughts running beneath the surface. Remember when Christ had to tell Martha to slow down from her work and stop and listen to him? Maybe, like Martha, we overserve everyone because we feel we must earn love. Maybe we entertain constant worries about money or health, which can show a lack of confidence in God's plan. Maybe we try to control everything because we don't trust God. There's a saying I love that there's two reasons why we do things. The first reason is a good reason for doing it, and the second reason is the real reason. Oftentimes, we don't realize the real reason why we are doing things, the thought pattern that is causing certain actions. But whatever isn't pure or lovely, we must meet it with truth. Stop the thought, replace it, and repeat the truth each time. It's like training a dog on a leash. At first, you're tugging constantly. Eventually, it learns to walk beside you. It's going to feel awkward at first. All exercises do, but the more you practice, the easier they get. Replace negative thoughts with God's truth, and you'll literally rewire your brain. You'll stop trying to modify your behavior without getting to the root of the problems, which never has really fixed anything. When you start seeing through His eyes, you are overcome with peace. Maybe life's problems remain, or maybe some of them aren't as big as you thought they were, but you won't see them as disasters. You'll see them as part of His plan. Now, it's extremely hard to invite God in if we scatter our powers with distractions. I'm not talking about homemaking or work. God speaks through your vocation. Folding laundry, cooking, caring for children, these can all be prayers. But if we're constantly in front of a screen or listening to something, our minds bounce everywhere. It becomes impossible to recollect, notice, or talk to God. Removing screens entirely isn't practical for most of us. So the key is boundaries, by time or by place. I have certain times when I'm not allowed to touch my phone. It can be difficult, sometimes very difficult. The phone is a temptation and the enemy whispers reasons why I need it. Keeping a notepad nearby helps. When something pops into your mind, write it down and check it later during your set screen time. Sometimes the boundary is a place. I used to listen to podcasts or music every time I drove. I rarely do that now, and some of my best conversations with God or family members happen in the car. It felt strange at first, but now it's a habit. As soon as I start the car, I begin praying. That silence has become sacred, and I really enjoy when I get a few moments of silence in the car. Personally, the two times I protect most are the very beginning and the very end of the day. The morning should begin with a sincere good morning to God, no phones until I do that, and get dressed, and the evening should end with good night, reflection, examination of conscience, and forgiveness. I love to fit some spiritual reading in there if possible as well. Whenever I end my day on screens, I wake up with that screen on my mind instead of God. But when I end the day with Him, I wake up in peace. Maybe like me, you've gotten on the decluttering train to simplify your life. You feel so good to have a simplified home, and then you realize that it's actually a constant daily practice. Renewing your mind is very similar. It isn't a one-time event, it's daily work. But with God's help, you do get better and better at it. God calls us to do all that we can, but He never gives us more than we can do. He didn't only say, follow me, He said, take up your cross and follow me. Our lives will always include hardship. Often we can't change it, but God asks us to conform our minds to His will within it. That was a hard lesson for me. I wanted God to fix my circumstances, but He wanted to transform me. Once I accepted that, I found the peace I'd been searching for. And this is what is meant by my yoke is heavy, but my burden is light. And when we renew our minds daily, we start to experience His peace even in the storm. And the positive effects of this peace will not only spread to those around us, but will heal our own minds and bodies as well. And if you're ready to take that first small step, join my free 7-day reset below, where we do 7 days of renewing the soul, mind, and body together using the rhythms God intended. I will see you next week, and God bless you.